Good evening, Demon Phil Comics and More, New Jersey. I am here with yet another interview for you this evening, and it's been an exciting day as is, and I've had an amazing group of guests up to this point, and like I always say on every single one of them, why stop the tempo now? So we're going to keep this thing rolling, absolutely. Now, as we always do, as I'm in here right now, if you'll go ahead and let me know in the comments you can see and hear me, so I know that everything's working correctly on that, and then please share this out. Share it all over the place because we are so close to our 1,000 followers on YouTube. If I'm not mistaken, we're somewhere around the realm of 160 away. It may not seem like that's a really good deal, but in the time frame that we've gotten them, we're talking about in the last 3 months. I've actually moved from about 200 followers to near the 1,000 mark. So obviously I'm doing something right, and you haven't quite gotten tired of seeing my face up here. Hopefully that doesn't change anytime real soon. Hey, Russell, I see you in the comments. Thank you very much for letting me know. Definitely, let's go ahead and get this thing shared out and get this thing ready to go. I am excited about this one. I've been looking forward to this interview. I look forward to all of my interviews. This one has been in the works for a little while. We've discussed about it and had it in the books, and now we're finally up to that point. And I've got some interesting information, some good questions coming up. We're going to have some fun with this one. Yeah, Russell, I appreciate that. We never said we're here for you. Thank you very much. All right, give it just about another minute here to go ahead and bring everybody in, and then I will get to my sponsors. Hope everybody had a great day, was safe, did everything that they were supposed to, and was productive. Raj, what's going on? Thank you for coming in, buddy. All right, so let me go ahead and remove this banner real quick, and we're going to light this puppy up. Here we go. Demon Phil, Comics and More, New Jersey. I am here with yet another interview tonight. And yeah, like I said, I am definitely looking forward to it. We have had a string of some of the most amazing interviews that I've ever done because, still fairly new to this, believe it or not, but I am enjoying what I'm doing on a level that you could not comprehend. So before I get too far into that, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors for this, since I do have sponsors, and I am so happy to have sponsors for this. First off, Sub-Zero Mission. Sub-Zero Mission is that big one that I talk about every single time that actually saves lives. If you don't know enough about this, please look on my wall, find out information on there. If you cannot find information immediately on there, please reach out to me and find out what you can do to help out this mission. They actually go out in their area to find homeless vets that are out there and give them the materials they need to survive every single winter. So it's huge with me on that. The next one I've got is Totally Rad Comics. Totally Rad Comics has actually got Totally Rad Life of Violet, which will be releasing June the 16th on Kickstarter. Be looking for that one. Next up, I have Third Empire Banner. Third Empire Banner, I've actually got Raj in here. I'm going to give you a shout out, Raj. Raj has got Mojo Rising coming out June 2nd on Kickstarter. Yeah, get your mojo on. It's going to be a party. Get ready for that one. Codex Entertainment, we have got Luis Torres has got Lily the Demoness, Chapter 4, which is coming out in July, if I'm not mistaken. And that'll be coming out on Kickstarter, so be looking for that one. 183 Degree Studio, that is Kara Nicole and Alfred Trujillo. And they actually right now have Confessions of a Cosplay Diva, which is on Kickstarter. If you have not gotten onto that one, you need to get on that one. And finally, we have our final sponsor that's on here, which was fairly new that we have added on, and we're very happy to have on board. Pantsless Pizza is on here as our sponsor now. So we're having a blast having them sponsor and enjoying all the time that we've had with that one. And if you don't know what Pantsless Pizza is, oh yeah, keep watching. It's going to get much better. All right, so there's all of our sponsors. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. I am greatly looking forward to this. We've had a blast up to this point, so why stop now? My guest tonight is the one and only Jen Broomall. I decided to go ahead and reach out to her and try to get her on. It's been a little while back, and we've had it locked in because I had to actually put her a little further in the schedule, because at that point is whenever I was actually having to schedule out a little bit, which is very odd. So she was very patient. She waited, and now she is here, and she's not going to be as patient much longer. So let me go ahead and bring her out. This is Jen Broomall.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It was a have to. I needed to get you on here. Now, for those out there that don't know who she is, if Jen, if you'll go ahead and let us know who you are, what you do, and how to find you.
I am Jen Broomall, obviously, and I'm a cover illustrator. I've been working in the industry going on about 10 and a half years now. And I started with Big Dog Ink, but I've worked for companies such as Double Stew Publishing, IDW, Valiant, Aspen, Xenoscope, Coffin Comics, which is all the Lady Death titles, and several more indies and Kickstarter campaigns, plus a lot of store exclusives that I've done. So I've been working within the industry as exclusively a cover illustrator.
And that is an impressive resume.
Thank
I
you.
actually have some questions that are going to be going into that whenever we go along because I did do some homework on you.
Yay!
Don't worry, I didn't bring up the good stuff. That's a different time. We
Oh
always save
gosh.
that for the sequel.
Oh no. What did Google spit out on me?
Now, I know that you are going to be working on doing a live draw for us. Do you want to
Yeah.
go ahead and let us know what you're going to be drawing this evening?
Sure. I actually decided to, and I'm switching over my camera, the Sailor Moon bandwagon here. So that is what I've got my sketch, which I drew in my sketchbook. So you see, I had printed it out because it was really tiny. I did a little thumbnail. And I don't usually do this style, but I figured I may as well try. And now I'm penciling it on watercolor paper, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Well, as you're going along in your drawing, if you don't mind, I'll just ask you some questions and we'll kind of go through that as we're going and
Sure.
have some fun with this.
Yes.
Now, as I said, I actually went and did some research, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up your website here. That way everyone else can go into there and look. It is all of the links that we're going to be talking about are actually in the both the YouTube and the Facebook links for Comic and More New Jersey. So if you go there, you can actually click directly into it. But this is her website, her main website here.
Mm-hmm.
If you go look in here, it's actually very interesting because this is where I did a lot of my research was in the About section. Because
Mm-hmm.
you learn a lot about your artist or your creative teams and everything by going in the About section. It's not just what they put in here, it's how they put it. So I have some questions I was going to ask you on here.
Sure.
So the first thing is, it says on here, Jen Broomall is a self-taught artist who over the last 10 years has refined her skill set, mastered her medium, and developed a finesse style that sets her apart from the rest. So my question is, self-taught, what exactly, if you don't mind explaining that a little bit?
I well, it's kind of one of those things where when I was in college, the whole comic book being a school wasn't an option like it is now. It's kind of like I think there was the one in New York, and that was pretty much it. And there was no way Podunk me was going to go to New York. So I didn't take any art classes or anything in college. I actually have a degree in musical theater, believe it or not. And I didn't start really like trying to figure out comics as a job until much later. I think I was in my mid to late 20s when I decided to really give comics a try, but that was studying anatomy and going on from there. I always grew up around art, but I was never really like formally taught. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so the whole comic stuff, like all the comic stuff that I do, I had to sit down and figure it out, and it was like, okay, you draw like this. It sucks right now, but let's make it better. That's how I did it.
But that's the best way to do it because if you go through and you automatically have that mindset of everything I touch is going to, it's just gold anyway, so there's nothing wrong with it and you can't find anything wrong with it, then you never can better yourself.
True. I think that by the time you get to that point of like you love everything that you create, I think that then you might want to do a career change.
Exactly.
To me it just feels like you've learned everything, so let's go on to learning something new, something that'll challenge you and be fulfilling. I would think that once, if I ever became very stagnant or settled with my style, like saying, like with this, I don't usually do the anime manga style. It's not my traditional style, but neither is watercolor. So I'm mixing two mediums that are way out of my norm and just giving it a go. This could turn into a hot mess, or this could turn out amazing. So I don't know, but I'm playing with it. I'm jumping on the bandwagon, and we'll see where it takes me.
Well, I'm pretty sure Hot Mess, whatever it turns out or whatever, we're going to have a lot of claims over here to the side. So
Hey, Tom. Hey, Tim.
now you can see the comments. I was wondering if you could,
Yes.
because
Yes.
Philip Russert has said hello in here. We've got, of course, Jim Noble is in here, and Tom is in here.
Mm-hmm.
And what did Raj put up here? I got a poo cover signed by her and Anna Jo, and it's going on video of her signing saying my name. She is my favorite. Okay, done fanboying.
Yay! That was such a fun cover too. Oh my goodness. When I was told about drawing a Do You Poo cover, of course, naturally, I immediately snarked at the title, but because
Oh, yeah.
I'm mature like that, I'm an adult. And, but then afterwards, I was sitting there and I was thinking, what can I do? What can I draw that would set my stuff apart? And then I was like, oh, duh, Dungeons and Dragons, and it all came from I wanted to draw Eeyore basically as a big dragon because I thought it would be fun, and it snowballed. So that was a really, really fun cover to work on.
Interesting. I mean, that's and it's fun hearing you talking about things, because I've actually been on your show a few times that you have on Sundays whenever you're on there. And do you have a regular time frame, by the way, on Sundays that you do that?
Usually Sundays are 5 to 7.
Okay, 5 to 7, and that is
Mhm.
on the Comic Book Shopping Network, correct?
Yes, the Artist Alley Shopping Network
Okay.
is the one that I'm on. I've been trying to do shows like at least an hour before as well to try to because I can get it to stream to both my Twitch and my Facebook. But yeah, the 5 to 7 is a definite.
Okay. So definitely you need to go watch her show. It's a lot of fun. You learn a lot of things as you're going along, but she makes it rather interesting as we go along watching that too. It's a blast.
And I don't mind talking shop either. So if people have questions, ask me. If I don't know, I'll just tell you, I'm so sorry, I'm not sure. And I've also had it where I've messed up live, and then I'm like, don't say the F word. And then I'm like, okay, looks like we're gonna do something else. Because what was it? There was one time I was doing a Twitch, and I had just finished the complete whole thing. And at the time I was working with Copics, but I also do highlights and white paint. And I didn't realize that I had ink, big like India ink on my finger. And I went to blur out a piece of the white, and it just black right across the face. There was no fixing it. And I'm sitting there like, oh, he could see me. They said that I looked like I was internally just screaming and shrieking. And I was like, well, thank you guys. And then I turned off the camera. And then I did have a tantrum in my studio, but no, you don't want to go live with that. Then that goes viral.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually those kind of videos that are the most viral. I don't understand what it is about that.
It's funny. It's funny to watch people lose it, but
Now, you mentioned earlier about some of the mediums, so I kind of wanted to touch on that, because it says on here that you are adept in pencils, ink, Copic, and watercolors.
yes.
Is there anything in particular that you actually prefer over another, or are you just kind of like open to whatever on there?
I started off with Copics. Copic markers, despite how expensive they are pretty forgiving as a medium themselves. Because they're alcohol based, you can let them dry, but you can also reactivate them versus watercolors, which will, if you try to reactivate, will bleed all over the place and stuff like that. But the problem that I had is, one, the price, and then two, just the fact that my inventory of Copic markers, though vast and extensive, will evaporate. They're hard to get these days. It's hard to come by. And so I was sharing a studio a few years back with Nin, and she and I were sitting there. She is strictly a watercolor artist. She's phenomenal, incredibly talented. And she was watching me work with Copics, and she just told me, she's like, you approach them the same way a watercolorist would approach their paintings. She's like, you should give it a try. And I did. And it seemed like for about 2 to 3 years, I just couldn't get it. And I couldn't grasp the medium. I couldn't wait for the paint to dry. I just didn't understand it. I couldn't color mix. I couldn't do any of it. It was so frustrating. And it still is a frustrating medium because you have no control. You have to let go of some of it. And I'm still learning personally. And I was given this from my friend Javier at a show. I was watching him work and basically calling him a witch while he worked. I was like, "You're a witch. How are you doing that? That's insane." And he gave me his travel palette. And then he gave me some, stack of paper that had a few in there. And he was like, just try. And I refused for a very long time. And then now I've been trying and I've been having fun. I've done some larger paintings, but recently for hashtag mermaid, I've been doing all these little mini paintings. So they've been a lot of fun because I don't have to stress about the details and can just have fun with pretty much just drawing gestures and painting and, practicing with mixing color palettes for skin tone and different colors. Like there's one that hasn't been posted.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're super fun and they're small, so I could get them done quickly. But yeah, that's been fun with this watercolor medium. As far as like my professional work though, I am still on pencil and ink. And I'm going to probably stay that way until I can master a medium before I feel comfortable pitching to companies like, hey, you totally want to print up my painting stuff because it's awesome. How would you hate to talk that up and then totally butt kiss it and be like, oh, you know what? Never mind. Just kidding. So
well, isn't it all about on how you pitch it? I mean, you can have just a blank canvas with a dot on there and go through this whole pitch, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to have that art."
Not in comics. But I'm in the wrong field, so I can go get my bananas. Tape it to the wall. You're like, buy this. It's amazing. So yeah, I saw that and I was like, I'm in the wrong art group.
Now you mentioned about the mermaids because I actually looked up on there too, and what day are you up on those?
I'm consistent. I painted ahead. So yeah, I cheat. And I went ahead and painted I think I'm almost finished with all my little mini paintings, but I've been posting them consistently on time. So we're on day 22 now.
Right. And the thing is if you haven't been paying attention to this, definitely go look at her Facebook, and you can look on there and see. It's actually on the art of Jen Broomall.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go look on there, you can go look at it. And whenever she's talking about different skin tones and different poses and everything, it's nothing but mermaids that you keep scrolling through on there.
Yeah.
But they're all different. There is none that look anywhere close to being alike on there, which is very interesting to see because the colors are different, the poses are different, the outlines on some of them are a little more bold on some others. I mean, there's all different things that were tried out on this, and you can see if you start going through on how much difference is on there. It's amazing.
Yes, I'm just playing with it. I'm trying to figure out the medium. Like some of them you can see are pencil outlines. Some of them I've used multi-liners. It's really just an experiment by using the art challenge as a way to get the, more a handle on the medium really. And I do, when it comes to these challenges like Inktober or Mermaid, I'm color mixing right now. I do plan ahead. Inktober, I'll have my own list and I will start creating, or at least I sketch them all out in my sketchbook, much like I did with this. And I do a thumbnail and then I'll scan it in and then I'll light box it and I'll bring it forward. But yeah, the biggest thing is figuring out color mixing for me. That was one of my biggest weaknesses when it comes to watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that I have a lot to learn. You can see I am working with a very limited palette. I mean, it does have a good variety, but it's not a huge, big variety of colors. And I'm putting stuff in my mouth and dropping things. But I am testing over in the corner. Excuse me.
That's okay.
But I play with it. I've been using it as a fun excuse. And I've also taken a little small break from comics. I'm not actively looking for work. I have been doing some stuff for my friends. Like I just completed inks for a cover for Josh Baylock with Devil's Due Publishing. I've got another one that we're trying to get the layout nailed down for Sora for her Aurora comic. and possibly carnal in the future.
Nice.
And but I haven't really been out like, pounding the pavement looking for work, because I wanted 2020 to be my year to take that break and have fun, experiment with art, and find things, discover things, make mistakes, and then it was like, oh, guess what? And then you're also going to have to deal with this. But it has given me a chance to play and to figure out this medium, to discover what paper I even like. I mean, finding the right paper is half the battle.
True. I keep hearing artists saying things, especially about the blanks, that
Oh,
there are some that they like using and some that they absolutely abhor.
there's some sketch cover blanks that you like grab it and you touch it and you're like, when you hear like nails on a chalkboard and your skin crawls. That's what happens to us when we get that bad paper. We're like, ooh, no, this is going to be bad. It's all going to look like mud. But it's true. Good paper can handle a lot. Bad paper, oof, can make a really amazing piece of work look bad.
Now, I've got a comment up here from Russell Allen. He happens to collect just a little bit of Vampirella, and I say that in a very sarcastic way.
Oh.
So he said, I love your Vampirella covers, especially the #2 colored by CC De La Cruz. So, yeah, he's giving you a huge compliment on that, because he collects slabs, hangs on to critiques. So it's a very big thing with him.
Oh, thank you so much, Russell. I appreciate that. And yes, oh my gosh, Cece knocked it out of the park. And those are really fun too, because those Vampirella covers were at the very beginning of the whole I want to do what I want kind of mindset. And thankfully, I was doing them through a store, and Steve pretty much just gave me free reign. And he said, draw whatever you want as long as it's Vampirella for these. And he did the same with the Unnatural. Of course, they still had to be approved and whatnot, but they were all approved. And it was a lot of fun working on those pieces, because I got to try something different and draw what I thought was beautiful. And so I think it shows. I think it shows for a lot of artists when they are enjoying themselves. It kind of sings through their artwork too.
Exactly. Now, we do have a comment over here in going with the paper. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up real quick. So this guy named Tom Hutchison said the BDI has the best sketch paper cover. So I think he's a little biased on that one.
That guy. Hey, Tom. Yes, the BDI sketch covers are very good sketch covers. They do have nice paper, because Tom was there like when all this stuff was rolling out, and he was listening to all of us artists over there basically complaining at shows. And so he sat down with a couple of us and was asking, okay, which ones do you prefer? What paper is good? So it was one of those times when you actually got to speak to a company that was going to be creating these sketch covers and give feedback and be like, please don't get paper that feels like this. This is good for Sharpies only. In the trash. Hey, Rob.
Yeah, I knew Rob would be coming in. It was just a matter of time of him going ahead and jumping in. Thank you for being here, Rob. And we've also got Luis Torres is in here. Thank you for being here, Luis. And again, just so everybody knows, I had mentioned the sponsors before. Most of my sponsors are actually in here right now, which is amazing. So thank y'all for being here.
Hey, guys.
We've also got a question from Raj. He wants to know, will we see an art book in the future?
Yes, you will see an art book in the future. I don't know exactly when. I know that that's, totally not vague. But that was one of the plans for me, is to create an art book full of nothing but my stuff, everything from my sketches to finished works. And so that was the hope for all of this. That was kind of the catalyst. So we hope to Kickstarter that, but I don't have anything set in stone as of yet. I'm using, like I said, I'm using my time, hopefully wisely, to try to push that forward.
Yeah, and Raj said, hell yeah. So I think he's a little excited about that one.
Just a tad. Yeah.
And Rob said, yes, he was up past his bedtime last night buying Goth Day goodies.
Yay, Goth Day!
Now, technically, if it's goth day, stuff like that, I mean, you don't really sleep. You go ahead and stay up throughout the entire night, right? I mean, that's the goth thing.
Exactly. What is sleep? There's no such thing. I only go in my, state, out of body state. That's it.
Russell Allen wants to know if the original of that Vampirella #2 is available, asking for a friend.
Uh, I think so, actually.
Uh-oh.
I think so.
All right, you'll be getting a message from him, I'm sure. Okay, let me go ahead and get that for you, Rob. Hang on, let me put that up. It's actually in the link, too. The links are in the videos. So if you go up to the very top up there where it actually shows the introduction and all, if you say see more, it'll have the links right there. You can click directly on them. And there is the website there for you, Rob.
Now the website just has a link to all of my artwork. It doesn't have an e-commerce. I don't have an e-commerce store up right now. So if you're looking to purchase some originals, we'll figure out a way for you to get a hold of me, because I haven't been setting up any stores or anything right now. I actually took my store down to revamp it, and then, life.
Now,
it's hard. COVID-19 has become our El Nino.
Oh, that needs to be a T-shirt.
It really does, because remember when El Nino came and that was what everybody blamed it on? They're like, it's El Nino. So now it's all COVID-19.
Oh yeah, that's a have to now. I hadn't even thought about that one.
Yes. It shows my age. I remember El Nino being a thing.
We're not going to talk about age. I'm not even getting in that one.
I think people get surprised at my age. I don't know. Maybe it's because I actually mentioned it, but
I got a bunch of whippersnappers in here that'll be all over me, so I'm not even going to talk like that.
I don't mind being the fogey. It's fine.
It's only a matter of just a few more years, and I'll be like, "Get off my lawn."
I'm kind of like that now, though. Sometimes I'm like, "Really? Is this really for real?" And they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you speak like so weird." But that's my kid. They're like, "Mom, you don't even understand." I'm like, I said, "What do you like talking about?" I'm like, "Totally rad." I'm with it. I'm not.
Okay, now let me ask you this: what inspired you to start drawing?
I always loved to draw. I grew up around art. I was very fortunate to have creative parents. I had a father who was into architecture. He designed several things for the Navy, and my mother was a graphics designer in the heyday of doing everything traditionally. I'm talking everything. And so I grew up around it. I always grew up with the fundamentals, and they would tell me, stuff like, balance and negative space. So, I mean, I knew art growing up, but I didn't realize how much I knew about it until, I got around other kids, and I was like, what do you mean you don't understand what composition means? My aunt is also an art professor up north. She is phenomenal. But what's really interesting with growing up around all this art, and then especially creative and artistic women, is that I was always exposed to just pursuing it for the joy of it. And yes, there was my aunt who had a career in it, and my mother did as well. And before, she became stay-at-home with me, but it was something that was always there. So I don't think any kind of moment prompted me to start being creative and to draw and to always, because even with musical theater, I joke about having a musical theater degree, but that's still a creative degree. That's still being creative in some form. I believe that music is a creative outlet, dance, ceramics, building, construction, like building something with your hands, like any way to kind of express yourself and vent your thoughts and your emotions, I find writing. It's all a creative outlet to me. So I don't find drawing or painting as that's an artist. I think that as long as you're expressing yourself and you're pursuing it for the joy of it, I think that that is it. And what prompted me to start pursuing comics as a career was I got laid off. And I was 6 months pregnant with my first kid. And back in my 20s, I was told, you know what, you're too old and you're going to have kids. So don't even quit your day job with trying to get into comics. So I guess I got into comics out of spite. and now I have 2 children, and they tell me how lame I am. But hey, I did it.
So, I'll show them. I'm going to become a very sought after artist and get it into comics.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, that always makes me go back to like that Bender moment. I'll start my own casino.
Exactly. Thank you.
Forget the blackjack. That was me.
This is great. We have the connection. I like that. Now, Philip Russert put a comment up here that I want to go ahead and bring up, because I have seen this several times on his wall in process. You drew the siren on his X-Force Jam piece.
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah, because I know that is an amazing piece that he's got going on with that, and a lot of talent that's involved in there.
Oh, jam pieces are so much fun. They're so much fun to work on, and it's really cool. They're fun to work on at the same time. They're a little, what do I call it? Heartburn inducing, because we had that undercurrent of natural competitiveness plus admiration for other artists. I am usually on more admiring side, but at the same time, I'm like, don't mess this up. But that piece was a lot of fun because there was a lot of good talent on there, and it was so pretty, and it was laid out well, and it was just, jam pieces are really, really cool. And other ones that are fun to work on are like when people come up to you with sketchbooks, not like pieces of paper, but an actual sketchbook full of artists' work in them. Oh my gosh, I love those. They're so, I get nosy and I flip through them. Like, I have to look at all your stuff first.
And Rob Schiff said, spite is a powerful engine. And if that's the case, Rob, then she's running a Hemi over there, because she's running this.
I wouldn't say it's spite now. I'm not spiteful anymore. I would say that was kind of, I remember sitting there and very pregnant and going, well, what am I going to do now? And then just like thinking back on that critique, like when the man critiqued my artwork, he really had some good points. His critique was solid. His feedback was sound, but it was when he was like, you little lady, here's what I think of you. And it was like, really? And I cried, and it was like, oh my God. And then of course, a few years later, I'm pregnant, I'm laid off, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he can't be right. So then I was like, meh. And then I sat down and kind of had my Iron Man montage and started sketching and studying anatomy and pushing it and submitting my stuff for, I think, a couple years. And after with Tom, actually, and Big Dog Inc., they gave me my first break. And I believe they had an artist drop out, and it was, they're like, okay, you're going to audition by drawing me a cover. And that was that.
Now, let me ask you this. What comics influenced you growing up?
I was really influenced by the Wildstorm and Image and all of that growing up. Like when that breakout happened with Jim Lee and Scott Campbell and McFarlane, all of those folks going and making their own stuff. And then I remember opening those books and going, what? Because you would open them and they would be amazing. And just hair flowing everywhere, stuff just not making sense, but looking really cool. I mean, that was like the cake for me. Penny hot tub cover. Tom remembers it. I hate that cover. And I'm always like, Tom, just burn it with fire because it's so bad. But, hey, it's history. It's history. We'll just call it memories. But yeah, I was big on the 90s influence, definitely. And I think that you can kind of tell with my passion for drawing hair all over the dang place. But since then, I was really also influenced by outside stuff like, Brian Froud obviously was a huge influence for, I think, my generation with Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and, Jim Henson and all the Muppets, like just visually things like that was very big for me growing up to be influenced by stuff like that. So I have a lot of, I guess, influencers coming at me from all directions.
And honestly, you can see a lot of that style or that influence, like you said, directly in your work and some of the things you do as well. Like you said, the hair or
Mm-hmm.
some of the poses or something like you can definitely see where Wildstorm would come into play or
Yes.
some of those right along with that same line.
Mm-hmm.
And, Gen 13,
Mm-hmm.
different ones like that were out there because a lot of artists have one style that they'll run with and they really don't adapt to too much else. You have an adaptation in there, but you also still have an influence that's in the background. It just changes up at times, which is very cool.
Yes. And I mean, I was also influenced by this show, Sailor Moon. So I had the anime, I had the comics. I think that honestly, like looking back and seeing all of those influences, like looking at Sailor Moon, I was watching this show and then I'd wait to watch Gargoyles and Batman the animated series. So I mean, my tastes and influences were all over the map. So I think that my art reflects that in a way. But the thing is that thankfully there is a consistent style underneath it all, so that when people do see my stuff, they're like, "Oh, Jen drew that. It's just a little
Yes.
bit different here."
Yes. Shameless plug for the doghouse on with BDI and everything, because whenever we're in there and we start a claim war,
Mm-hmm.
your book gets shown up there, and before they're even saying who it is from or whatever, everybody's out there yelling, "Broomall, Broomall, claim, claim."
Oh, at least you're not like, "Who is this person? Is this a new artist?" No, she's been around a while.
Well, it's kind of like that Steph Wilson person. Whenever you see those covers, you just know it's Steph Wilson. So,
Yes. You just see it and it's obvious. Even though, I mean, if you look at some of my older stuff that Tom does have, versus my newer stuff, you can put them side by side and they don't, you can see the growth, but you can still see the underlying style that is embedded in there that will always be my lines, just improved.
right.
And that's basically how I look at artwork anyway. I'm like, okay, this is what I do. Like the same with this watercolor. Skin's a little oversaturated. That's why I'm moving to hair. But I'm learning and I'll keep trying and I'll keep making it better.
Exactly. That's all you can do is keep improving on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say that Steph is actually in here in the audience, so thank you for being here, Steph. And I give you crap because you tend to give it back as well whenever I'm just a church mouse everywhere else I go. So I don't understand what the problem is.
I love it. I love it.
And as far as Tom, we got to see the older stuff at some point. You got to put that out there where we can all enjoy that.
Oh, don't have me live for that. I'll be like, no. And everybody will be like, I want it. And I'll be like, I'm buying it all. And then I send him a picture of a bonfire. Like, I bought them all and I burned them. No, he knows better than to give me those.
Actually, it would seem that I now have your first cover in my possession.
Oh no. Listen to that evil laugh. I love it.
Oh, they don't call me Demon Phil for nothing.
I love it. I love it. It's not like it's a horrible cover. I mean, it's just, to me, I look at it and I, cringe inwardly because I can see all my mistakes screaming at me. But at the same time, I can, look at it and be like, okay, I learned a lot with that piece.
Well, is it okay if I show that? Because if I get some people over in the audience that say they want to see it, then as long as it's okay with Jen, we will show that on here.
As long as you show my new stuff so they're not like, wow, she really does suck. We don't need to be listening to her advice. That guy was right.
All right, I got several people in here. I need to know, do we want to see some of her first work? Because I have the first cover that somebody sent it over to me. I will not name any names. So now I have the cover to show off.
I know it was him. Just you wait, Tom. Just you wait. Lockdown won't last forever. I will get you. I know Tommy's probably like, bring it.
All right, let me go ahead and bring this up. So let me do a share screen here, and we will go for this.
Guys, please know it is really bad. It is so bad. It is so horrible.
It is very slow coming up.
That's okay.
She's hoping it'll crash.
It was so bad it crashed the whole stream. Tom's like, it's not bad. He's like, Tom is like the proud parent.
And there it is.
It's all the scribble crayon drawings. He keeps them.
There it is. If everybody can see that. So that is the Penny hot tub cover. That, yeah.
And oddly enough, that was my second published, but my first drawn cover, because Tom needed something more immediate, and it ended up being the Triceratops cover. And that one, you know, it was funny on all levels because it has so many puns. And we, you know, because we're mature adults, Tom and I, you know, giggled back and forth with it, but it was a fun one to do as well.
And Tom even said, LOL, it's not bad. Hey, Tom doesn't have any edits. We're actually doing pretty good on that one.
But now you have to show something new so that you can palette cleanse. Come on. Come on.
All right, Tom, send me something new.
There we go.
Oh, wait a minute. Actually have her first ever cover too. I won't say who's sending all this stuff, but they're sending all kinds of good stuff to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, and another thing to also keep in mind is this is 10 years ago, so please remember that.
Yeah, if you will send some of her newer stuff so I can show that off as well, because she has asked for that and I have no problem there.
I like that vampy cover. Here, let's see if I can pull it up real quick. And Tom says, all artists grow. This is very true. We do. If we didn't, that would be bad.
Right.
That would be very, very bad.
Completely agree.
There's that link. Sent it in a private chat. Is that where I was supposed to send it?
Yeah, that'll work. Tom just sent another one. I am familiar with this one. Yes. Okay, so we got some stuff to show now.
Woo!
All right, so let me go ahead and bring this back up. Technology is a fun thing at times.
Yeah, we just finished homeschooling. So now we're officially in summer. What?
All right, so here is first cover.
Claim Broomall. Yes, that was the first ever printed one. And it's so punny. So many puns. It's the best.
So there is that one. And then we have got here and bring up. Now we're going to show something a little more modern.
Oh, yay, Joan.
Yes. Now that was beautifully done because it's not the regular, you know, wings with feathers. Steph, by the way, Steph loves feathers. So this was, you know, very different than what he was looking for on there.
Steph, do you really love feathers, or is that just sarcasm there?
Would the demon lie?
Yes, yes. Trust me, I don't like drawing feathers either. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, woo, it's gonna be awesome. And then like halfway through, you're like, why?
And there's Steph's answer right there. Feathers suck.
They're the worst. So bad. That's when you're like halfway through, and then you're like, I'll just leave this to the colorist. And the colorist gets your stuff, and they're like, son of a. Didn't draw any of it for me. We're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Tell
No,
me right there.
well, there's always evolution to your art practices that you do and everything. Like we've talked about, you either get better or you get stale and stagnant, and then you just kind of fall off the reservoir with that one. So what you want to do is keep working on that and keep bettering yourself. So we can definitely see where the evolution has come from your work, because even the stuff that you turned in back then, that is stuff that I would be interested in having in my collection, no problem. And then the stuff that you have nowadays as well. So you definitely have a style that appeals to not just myself, but many others that are out there as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to, I always try to make it sure that it gets better, but I do my best to not totally drink the haterade when it comes to my old stuff, but I don't know. I just mark it down as like a moment in time and be like, yay, okay, it's all right, but this one's better. So you want to buy that one? Go get the new stuff. And no matter what you get, though, if you find me at a show when all of this craziness is over, I will sign it all for you guys for free. As long as you're not like coming at me with like a full big old stack that goes on for days, then we'll talk. But for the most part, everybody's pretty awesome. And it's fun also to see people's collections.
Well, that pretty much leaves Rob Schiff not coming to your con then.
Well, I think okay. Let me rephrase that. If you bring me a big, like I had one guy come with a large collection, but it was because it's hard to find me. I don't go to a lot of shows,
Mhm.
so we had a large collection of my stuff because it is a career of 10 years,
Right.
and for a while there, I was pumping 2 covers a month, and yeah, at least. And so he had a very extensive collection, but again, it's very difficult to find me because due to kids and family life, we don't attend a lot of shows. So I didn't mind signing that large collection because I realized that was someone's personal collection that they have been working on for a very long time. And they found me and they were able to bring it to me. It is someone who comes to me with like a large stack, but it's 5 of each.
Yes.
With a rep there to make sure that everything is,
Mhm.
signed, and so that I'm going, this is going on eBay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm going to charge you now. But for the most part, I don't like charging for signatures because you took the time to find it, you took the time to hunt it down. You love it, so give me that stuff, and I'll make sure my Sharpie works.
Well, I have a few covers, so I will definitely be looking you up whenever the smoke clears with all this and trying to figure out where I can get with you
Heck
on
yeah.
that.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me none.
Now, as an artist, it always is said that art kind of speaks to you. What kind of art speaks to you?
I Well, I fall in love with a lot of pieces actually. I like everything from stuff that I'm seeing on Instagram by all these amazing, like my Instagram is full of nothing but watching other artists. I don't watch celebrities unless they're celebrity artists. And I really just sit there and ogle these artists from all over the world, and they're up and comers or they're established. They're animators. I've really been enjoying, you know, animator stuff. Lightbox Expo is something that I would like to attend one day, just as like a nerd to go. But I also like the old school stuff. Like when we went to Amsterdam a couple years ago, and I got to see Rembrandt paintings in person for the first time. I actually sat there and just like almost broke down and crying because they're so beautiful. You see these pieces, you see these prints, and you don't really get the full. impact of them versus going and seeing them. And also like the Van Gogh Museum, we went there as well, and that was emotional. But so I think that what art speaks to me is I tend to gravitate towards stuff that is more fantasy. I think that that seems to be my wheelhouse right now, especially.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying the fantasy genre. I think that it's really fun. I've always loved like the stories and whatnot. So I tend to look at those and to study those. But then I also like looking back at the classics and even stuff like, you know, some people make fun of George O'Keeffe, but I loved her artwork when she used her art to express her pain through her husband's passing. And it was something as simple as she always painted a crow in her painting.
Right.
And you know, it's stuff like that. So it's, you know, to me, I like the story behind the art as much as I appreciate the artwork. Now, the art that I don't like is like the banana taped to a wall. Then I'm going, what am I doing? You know? And they're like, I'm just making a statement. And I'm like, something tells me you just weren't ready for your final and you just made this up. So, but you know, I think that it tends to be all over, especially with the revamping of Dark Crystal and watching of the puppetry and the brilliance of all of that. That's been amazing. And seeing that they brought back Brian Froud and Wendy, and now his son's working on it as well. And they all have similar styles. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I tend to nerd out and do stuff like that. How does Jen feel about werebears these days? I think they're awesome.
He's a little bit of a fan of a little book that's called Ursa Minor. So he's just wondering if you might make a comeback on that at some point.
That's a Tom question. So take it away, Tom.
Oh, trust me, he's asked Tom in several shows.
I haven't been turning down stuff. I mean, I haven't approached Tom asking him for anything. I know that Tom's got several artists lined up in the stables right now. So there might not be room for me. So that might be part of the reason for the delay, which is absolutely totally normal. I mean, there's a lot of us in the industry. So sometimes it's an availability thing. And then also Tom has been very kind in giving me my space and going, you know, let you grow and things like that. But I would not reject said Werebear or any of the other titles.
Tom
and then of course,
plenty of time, October.
There we go. So I remember like Tom and I were reminiscing on designing General Ginger and giving her the monocle. And I was like, she has to have a monocle. But that was it. And he was like, okay, all right, she's going to have a monocle. And then also designing some steampunk stuff and then having the interior artist go, no. That was something that I did with Big Dog Ink. Is I didn't just do covers with them. We were doing character designs and things like that, and I would just draw stuff that I thought was awesome because, again, coming from the 90s influence, I'm like, it looks cool. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just gotta look cool. And so I was doing all of this, but I would forget that the poor person doing the interiors would have to draw this over and over again. And then I would get the message back like, what are you thinking? I'm sorry.
Now, you went over your resume, shall we call it, whenever we first started off into this, and some of the ones that were on there were, you know, BDI, Coffin Comics, Zenoscope, IDW, Valiant, Dynamite, Image. I mean, there's and many more on top of that. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone that's on your wish list that you have not worked with that you would like to work with?
I'd love to work with Top Cow at some point. I love that they post their talent searches, but I can't apply for their talent searches because I've been published, and I don't do interiors. So, but I would love to work on something for Top Cow. I would actually, and I'd also, kind of a bucket list for me would be to do some sort of alien cover. because the Alien franchise. Now there's something else. It's totally left field. Like everybody's like, oh, she loves fantasy and pretty stuff, and I'm all like, but I also love aliens, and they're ripping out your chest, and but all that stuff is visually amazing. Like look back and look at the designs. It was so iconic, and then also I love Sigourney Weaver and Ripley, and so yeah, huge Alien nerd. Sorry.
Oh, I would love to see you do a xenomorph in your style and have that much color and depth to it and all. I think it would look pretty cool.
It's so much fun. Oh my god. Because I like to draw monsters. I like to draw monsters in the teeth and the drooling, and then of course you don't really have to, with xenomorphs you have your kind of base, but you can also warp them into doing whatever, because it's all based on what they're being born from. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
And so you can totally change them up. But yeah, I would have so much fun. That is definitely a bucket list for me. But it's like people look at my portfolio and are like, really? What? Yeah, that would be so awesome, don't you think?
But that's a perfect example of going outside of your wheelhouse and trying something totally different, that you put your style into something that is established like that. I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless on that.
It would be fun. So I let her draw Snake Girls, is what Tom said. I did get to draw. It's like they're kind of like Naga dragon-like snake girls. So they're pretty, but then it's like the bottom half is like this whole snake thing, and they're all wrapped around each other. It's really fun. So yeah, monsters are a lot of fun. I think that's when Inktober is a lot of fun for me, because Inktober I use to let the kind of my darker side show. And I have had it where my fans who've been following all of my social media, they see these cute mermaids. Yeah, there's the snake dragon ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the juxtapose there. You got something beautiful and yet threatening.
That is great.
Thank you. But definitely Inktober is stuff where I'm drawing like Wendigos and things. So yeah, they're probably like, what happened to you? Are you okay?
But I'm just looking at this piece here going, there is so much color, so much depth. Just the hair alone has got so much wave and so much, volume to it. And then it also shows a lot of the shimmer in there, giving it more of the, even more depth to just the hair alone, and then going with everything else. I mean, everything just bleeds together perfectly.
And yeah, that is CC coming in on top of what I've done line work wise, and just making it like blowing it out of the park. And she's done that often with my work. CC, I work with about 4 separate colorists because I don't understand digital coloring. I'm trying to learn it because I would like to be a one-stop shop. But CC definitely has figured out how to interpret my lines. So she and I definitely work very well together. Kate Finnegan is also another colorist who colors my stuff very, very well. And Sanju, he's one I've worked with. So I think that once you get that great match, yes. It's just like a wonderful inker as well. But when you find that match, it's really amazing, because really amazing colors can bring up an average image.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, it can go from good to great to wonderful to epic, just in a matter of the symmetry being involved.
Yes. And so I definitely have to, give my, tip my hat to CC, to Ula, to Sanju, to Kate, to all of them for, working on my work, on my lines, and interpreting my crazy, because not only are they interpreting mine, but they're interpreting every other artist that they color.
And that's the biggest thing right there, is that they're not doing simply one style. That's what everybody doesn't understand, is whenever you have a colorist, they actually have a very broad spectrum, and they have to adapt to everybody.
Yes. And then it's like, some artists, like, for example, with this piece, there's only a small indication of her nose. Most of my pieces, I have a pretty well drawn out nose. Like, that's what CC and I actually will talk about extensively, is my obsession with noses. And not, like one time she colored it, and I'm like, stop, Michael Jackson, don't make it look like Michael Jackson nose. They're not all skinny. She actually has a bridge there, but in other artists, you know, they don't give a really large indication, so they have to make that guesswork of making this flat thing into a three-dimensional object through coloring. And some of us are, you know, will spell it completely out for us, and other ones will leave wiggle room for them to interpret and make changes. And I think that good colorists will color on top of your work and make it look all right. Great colorists will look at your work and step it up by understanding what's there and taking it a step further. And what I'm meaning by that is they understand the planes, the anatomy, they understand how hair works, they understand how clothes work, you know. So, and then I've come across colorists who are growing, who are like really good at one part, but struggling with the next. And so I'll toss them what I know they're strong with versus giving them something that they're going to struggle with and maybe get that to practice with.
Right. And that makes total sense to do that, because that way you play on your strengths, not your weaknesses.
Exactly. Like if I know an artist is struggling with coloring hair, don't color my stuff. Right. not when you have a deadline. Like color my stuff if you need to practice coloring hair.
Right.
But don't color it if you know, are going to submit it to work until you've gotten a grasp on it, because my stuff is like hair everywhere and it's going to just make you frustrated. You know, it makes sense. My stuff will just make you mad, versus like I've seen some who can make clothes look like, now Mark Brooks is not a colorist, he's a one-stop shop, but the way the man colors clothing and folds, holy crap.
Yeah.
I sat there and I watched it, and I've screamed at the screen watching him work and be like, "You're a witch!" But you know, I do the same to Bob Ross too. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of them I'm screaming at. But yeah, the way that he can do clothes, well, he can, you know, do anything and it looks amazing. But his fold game is strong. And like another artist that I really look up to, who is also a friend, is Megan Hetrick. I'm sorry, Megan, for totally killing your last name there, and I apologize. Her use of color, just color in general, is phenomenal. She understands not only just having a really pleasant image, but setting a mood. Like she did a Vampirella cover that was, the face was completely in shadow and you just saw the eyes glowing.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, what? But that's just setting a mood to a painting. But it was amazing. And the way that she uses color and she manipulates light sources in order to do, you know, to make her effects and to make her end pieces is just phenomenal. So there's a lot of my peers in the industry that I look to as, wow, you're incredible. I don't look at them as inspiration of what I can do, because I'm never going to have their hands and eyes, but I can look to them and scream at them and then be like, how does this makes no sense. How are you doing that? And they're like, oh, it's so easy. And then you're like, shut up. Let me go back over here and practice. And Tom says he's got Mark Brooks' Voltron Lion sketch. What?
Yeah.
Jelly.
He gets all the cool toys.
Jelly. So jelly. I've sat there and at a show and watched Mark work, and it's just like he's so, to me, so fast. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy.
So what is your favorite piece that you've done?
Let's think. I think it used to be, and I'll send you a link to it. It used to be this Princess Mononoke piece that I did. And it's going to shift. It's going to shift here real soon. I did it as a print. And of course, like Studio Ghibli is another thing heavily that I love and adore. But the reason why it's one of my favorites is because I learned a lot from it. I re-inked it, I think, like 5 times, because it was when I was going from inking with multi-liners to using a quill, and to figuring out that some of those different inks will bleed all over the damn place, and I didn't know that. And then I was using Copic markers, so I was not using watercolors at the time, but I colored it, I believe, like 5 or 6 times. And I learned so much during that piece. And then there was a lot of frustration. I got mad, I threw it away. And but because I learned so much, it became a favorite. I recently sold the original. Just this in 2019, sold the original.
That is nice. That's got a lot of stuff involved in it that actually just molds together perfectly.
Thank you. But that was a piece that I learned so much from, that it became very personal. But my style has evolved since then, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be doing a painting here soon that is going to be very similar, and that I'll become emotionally attached to and be like, I can't let go of it. It's my baby. But it's pieces like this that I learned from that become kind of like, the stepping stones in my education. And then I really struggle with letting go. And then you see the big leap in my style, in my work, and then I'll hold on to it for a while. Now, pretty much anything else, you can have it. I'm not clingy when it comes to my artwork. I do know some artists who get really possessive of their originals, but I'm all like, no, it's fine. As long as you're going to give it a good home, then by all means, appreciate it. It's just in my drawer.
So, what has been your most memorable fan interaction that you've had?
Oh boy. Okay. Okay, I'm switching cameras. One, I'm letting paint dry. Most memorable. Because there's a lot. There are a lot. I will say, how about I mention a couple, because I don't have like a most.
Okay.
But I think that, well, one of my most memorable, one of the top ones was when I did a lot of designing of characters for BDI back in the beginning, like with their Legend of Oz series, with Joan, with Critter as well, and what was it, Schoolgirl, and we had a Joan of Arc, a General Ginger, and my friend Crystal dressed up as Schoolgirl all come up to my neighboring table, because I believe me and Natalie were sitting next to each other at the time, and Natalie had just done several covers with those characters on them. And so they were going to her table because they, were showing off the characters. But I got excited because I had designed those. And then to see them in real life was like, I was shocked. And so I got really excited and I took their photos. And another really fun one is Shane and I use conventions to really cut loose. And Shane, if you don't know, is my husband. He is my better half. He is a major support of all of this crazy stuff that is comics. And he's my number one sales guy. But we also like to, cut loose because he's in HR, so he gets to have some fun at these shows and doesn't have to be totally PC the whole time. But he bought himself a Batman mask. And he's great, and it looks great on him, but he has these ears that stick out. And it's hilarious, and it's just the cowl, and it's a good mask. But we were sitting there, we're doing our stuff, I'm painting and whatnot, and people are walking by, and there was this little boy, and he had that flat stare on his face, and he had to be like 5 or 6 years old, but was just done. He had walked around that convention. He was done. He was tired. Nothing else was going to be cool. We were just like, and he was dressed up as Batman. And Shane was talking to his dad, and of course they stopped. And he goes, he was so done. He was so tired, and he wasn't complaining verbally. It was just his body language was just showing, and it was so cute. And so Shane kneels behind the table, and he puts the mask on, and he jumps up, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Scares the poop out of this little boy, and then of course, then he gets excited because it's Batman, but of course it's just the mask with Shane's ears poking out. It's great, and the little boy's front teeth are gone. And he's like, "What happened to your teeth?" And he's just smiling ear to ear. And then it's like Shane threatens to punch the tooth fairy to get his teeth back and stuff. But he got so excited, and he stopped having a crappy day of following his parents around. And it's stuff like that when Shane and I get to be at shows and we get to goof off and we get to have fun with fellow nerds because we're all there in our nerddom. And I think that that's the biggest joy that I find when I go to shows and when I get those interactions with fans and with attendees, with fellow artists, you know, sitting down watching someone work and screaming at them that they're a witch and, you know, things like that. But it's so much fun to be able to go do that. Like we did one Dragon Con, which y'all knows is a party show. But we did it. We usually take the kids, so we usually have to be, you know, more subdued. We have the kids around, so we got to take them back to the hotel before it gets too crazy. But one year we had no children, so we bought lightsabers because that's what grown-ups do. And they're battle lightsabers, so you can legit hit. And we're like, this is better than counseling. and we went to like this party, which was wonderful. It was like this after party, and we're like, okay, we can actually do these now. And we went in, and of course, everybody's using lightsabers like giant glow sticks. And they're having these like little, you know, there's a dance floor, but then there's like groups of people fighting in like certain like little circles. And like Shane was like, okay, I'll go and I'll play. And this girl had some like, she was this little mousy, wispy girl, but she had some rage. And all of a sudden, it was like the Sith came out. She was like, she was like, oh my god! And I was like, she's mad. But then we realized no one could dance, so we were having a great time with a bunch of nerds like ourselves. We also couldn't dance, so we all just nerded out and had a great time. But I think at conventions, it's that celebration of nerddom, whatever it may be, and being around people. And finally, like, it's so accepted now. And for me, I'm not like, you're not nerdy enough, you can't hang out with us. No, I think that baby nerds, established nerds, people who are just figuring it out from the movies should all get together and welcome each other. Because, you know, I remember, well, it's me being old, I remember when it was like not cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when people would be like, that's so weird. and actually hiding that I would read comic books from my friends in high school. So like we go to some shows and we run into people and they're like, I had no idea. I'm like, no, because I would have gotten the crap beat out of me. You know, you legit would. And now you won't. So I think that it's a good thing. And I think that, you know, like celebrating cosplay, that's another form of creativity. They built that whole thing. It's amazing. And I just absolutely love it. So yeah, I chased down a woman dressed as Ripley from Aliens 2 in the machine. She was walking out. Right. Yeah, she made it out of cardboard, and she was like walking down. And I like, Shane's like, where'd you go? And I totally chased her. So there's a lot of memorable moments. And Tom, I do remember the C2E2 banner.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to see that up there. I was going to bring that up whenever you were done with that.
I'm classy. Real I had drawn this very tasteful image of Joan, but it shows her posterior. And when I unrolled it, that's all I saw. And then I turned around and I mooned everybody with it. Because that's what happens when you bring a classy old lady to a con. So yeah.
But I mean, you have to have fun with what you're doing, or it's not even worth it.
Exactly. We have fun, and I think that what us artists, especially who go to conventions and stuff, that's what we're missing this year. Is we're missing that extended family.
Yes.
Because for the most part, my life hasn't changed too much, with the exception of homeschooling, which, as far as my day-to-day, I work from home, I do my artwork, and then, you know, then I parent and so on and so forth. But I also miss that whole being able to see everyone, to give everyone hugs, to talk shop with fellow creatives, and then to, you know, also talk nerddom to fellow nerds. So I think that that's something that we're missing. So these streams make it nice for us to reconnect what we're missing right now that we're not getting.
And that actually kind of segues into my next question. I don't know if you can see my questions over here or not, but so with everything that's going on with the current situation and all, and you're just talking about, you know, going in the online streams, how much of a change was it for you to go ahead and adapt as we have had to here with all this?
like pretty much like, well, my day to day has changed, like with the homeschooling. That was a lot, because I have a 10 and a 6-year-old. And so, yes, so trying to keep them on track and keep the grades up. And then, of course, I felt like, what was it? Me and Lisa were like, just do it. Just run, go run in the backyard. We're trying. And Shane is working from home. Thank goodness he gets to work remotely. But it's also a lot of like stage screaming, but in whisper form in the house. Stop fighting. So that's changed. And I don't get as much work done, but I do carry my sketchbook around all the time. So I'm constantly drawing and sketching up stuff. But I don't get that break that school gave me. So that's tough. So I get that on the weekends. And I feel that's a lot of vodka to be drinking.
It's not vodka, don't worry.
It's rum. Mine's vitamin C and champagne. But I think that the tough part, the whole adjusting to all of this, is not going out and being able to attend to conventions. Those would be my breaks. And so we are missing that. Adapting, I have been trying to do the streams, but I can't stream during the week because I take up the internet. So I would be competing with Shane for his, all of his meetings. And then of course, the kids would take over. It'd be every 5 minutes. Can I get something to eat? And everybody would be like, no, we ain't watching this.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say our mysterious benefactor has sent me yet another picture.
Boy.
To go along with the story that you just gave.
Oh.
So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up here real quick.
Classy.
So everyone else can go ahead and enjoy this.
Because I'm a classy lady.
There's the banner.
I wish that you had that picture of Ian, because Ian did one too. And it was great. But
that is phenomenal. I mean, like I said, if you can't have fun with what you're doing, it's not worth it. And that's a lot of fun there.
Yes. And that's pretty much us at shows. That right there sums up our convention. Everyone's like, are you serious? How are you doing all of this? And I'm like, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good time. Because I've discovered in the past, like in the beginning of the career, when Shane and I would sit there and be like, we got to make so much money. Because you spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to attend these shows as an artist. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're spending more than attendees to buy the booths, to get the hotel, to get the travel. All of that is coming out of our pocket unless we're brought in as a guest. And that's very rare.
Right.
Especially on the art side. Like if we were celebrity, that'd be different. And even celebrity artists, it really depends on how big of a celebrity you are. So we've spent all this money. And if we go in thinking, oh my gosh, we have to get at least this number, we end up so stressed that it reads. And then we end up not, even breaking even. And then once we realize if we're just having fun and our experience is fun, so the attendees' experience is going to be fun. Hell, let's just have a party. We bring music. We have a great time.
And that's the best way to do it because, I mean, you're going to a con. It's your escape from reality. We actually recreate a brand new reality every time we step into a con. So whenever we're doing this online, it's kind of the same thing that we're trying to recreate. Now, you don't have the human interaction.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's going to happen later on. As soon as the smoke clears, there's going to be a lot of human interaction going on. There's going to be a lot of hugs, a lot of handshakes, a lot of people that are just going to be up close going, I've missed this. I've missed this energy.
I missed you so much. Yes.
And it's creating a whole bunch of new friendships and new interactions that are going on there too. I mean, look at what I'm doing, with my end over here, because I can't wait to see you at a con, to see Tom, to see some of the other ones that are out there. Even Steph, I've met him once before, but I could stand seeing him again. But I mean, it's a blast, and everyone has to admit.
With our commissions for feathers.
Yes. Exactly. See, wait a minute. I'm gonna put this on record. Jen Broomall, just put this on here so everybody that's live and everybody that will be watching this. Steph Wilson wants your commissions as long as it has feathers
Feathers.
and
Oh,
fire.
he's just gonna be drawing rocket ships everywhere. That's a great interaction. I don't know if I can explain that one on YouTube, but that one was fun.
Technically, we're on YouTube and Facebook, so we don't get away with all of it just yet. That's a different show.
Okay, I totally understand. It's a good way to break the ice with meeting as someone new who's a big name. As I tend to not remember names. I'm a face person. Like I know that I've dropped a few on here, but it's just because I've actually talked with them and learned. It started associating faces with names. But I tend to remember people's faces first, and especially artists that I admire. Sometimes I won't know their name. I'll just know their work. And so I've actually, throughout the 10 years, I've stumbled across some really amazing people, had no idea who the hell they were, and promptly stuck my foot in my mouth. But thankfully, most of everybody has been really amazing and kind of, laughed at my expense. So did I. And we've had fun with it. But there's been a few where I've, been like, whoa, I'm glad we're friends now.
Well, you have to be able to laugh at yourself, for the things that you do as well, because other people are going to do it. And if you don't have a thick skin, especially in this industry, I mean, everywhere else is the same way, but this industry as well. If you don't have a thick skin here, you don't survive.
No, I think it's yes and no. Because I
Right.
think that for me, it's not necessarily needing the thick skin for other creatives or companies. Because I mean,
Right.
I understand being told no.
Right.
There's so many of us banging on the door to try to get in. It makes sense. And I think maybe this comes from the years I spent auditioning. I'm used to being told no and just going, okay, I'll see you again next week. That's just something I don't mind. And getting critique on my art, that's fine. It's when people start attacking your personality, your gender, and all that kind of stuff that I'm kind of like, whoa.
Yes.
But for me, I find that a lot of the negativity, I think that is for the nerd groups, us, and I say nerd in the most loving way. I think we're pretty obvious on if we're going to be negative or positive. So it's pretty easy to read up front. So it's kind of like, I won't hang out with you, but you're pretty fun. We'll go hang out.
Well, and it is. It's the respect factor, because like you just went ahead and said there, once you cross that line of the respect factor, then all bets are off at that point.
I also think that like attracts like.
Yes, exactly.
And Shane and I are big personalities, especially when we're at a show, because again, we're having fun. We also, we're not afraid of crowds. Sit there and tap dance and jazz hands. So, we put on a good show, but the show that we're putting on is genuine. It's just us amped up about 100%. And, when we come home, we're tired. We're like, whew, it will take like a week to kind of just, but
yes,
that is still how we are. Like, even when we're hanging out with our friends at home, we are going to have fun. This is what we want to do. And so I think that people who enjoy that will gravitate towards their table. People who maybe we overwhelm might not. So we try to cater to everyone, but at the same time, we try to stay as genuine as possible, because that's one thing that does pet peeve me, is people who have the facades. And I'm just like, I'm too old to start that. Everybody's like, is your online persona the same? I'm like, yeah. ain't got time for that.
Oh, so you don't go and sip the good stuff with the pinky up and everything whenever you're around everyone else out in public?
Nice clothes and stuff, and I gotta go visit family and do church. I'll be quiet, but I mean, honestly, they know it's me because they see me streaming online. So, but I think that I don't sit there and have it on and then turn it off and
Right.
get all gloom and doom behind the scenes or whatever. I think that being genuine, being sincere, I think it reads. And,
yeah, I completely agree on that.
Jen, any story arcs genre you want to write but haven't had the chance yet? Ooh, Justin, that's so amazing. Guilty pleasure. I have been reading a lot of webtoons
Really?
for this COVID-19 experience. That's been my like thumb scroll. I really love like Lore Olympus. I love her use of color to tell a story. Plus, her style is amazing. But I've been reading them, and they're so. Some of the stories are so silly, but I kind of love that silly genre. Plus, drawing those versus drawing the interiors of a book are a bit different. Not as much detail needed and necessary, not page layout, it's just a single strip layout. So that might be something in my future to work on, building up my interior experience. I have done interiors in the past, but they were very difficult for me. So
Mm-hmm. And that would definitely give you some practice on that while you're going ahead and expanding on a whole different,
yeah,
level that you can do on the side.
whole different thing is that, again, out of my wheelhouse. So here I am, many pots on the fire, but it would be something to play with because I do have a story. It's more of a like fantasy genre, kind of a romance, like a, oh, are they going to smooch type thing? But hey, it's fun. Nothing overly epic. I have those stories, but I'm not ready, if that makes sense. And I worked with Tom. I did a 6-page story once, and then I thought, ooh, I got the big britches on, and I'm going to do a 40-page book. And then I realized I'm not there yet. I did it. I got it done. I think by the end of the book, you can see I hit my stride and my rhythm, and I started to figure it out at the end of the book. But I realized that with the age of my kids right now, that to try to do interiors for a comic is not feasible because of the time it takes me. And I am a slow artist because I'm also learning.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was to do something like webtoons and start getting used to doing those, weekly or monthly updates and getting that stuff out there, and also maybe learning digital stuff as well, that might help me pursue that in the future.
Mm-hmm. And see, it's strange hearing you say that every time that you're still learning, because we just brought up a few of your pictures of, whenever you started to what you've done recently, and you can see the evolution in there. It was still great whenever you first started. It is spectacular in the epic class of what it is now. And you're saying that you're still learning. That's amazing that you still have that humility, and that's something great to have within the industry.
I constantly want to learn. Like I eventually want to be one of those artists who is a one-stop shop. I love working with the colors that I work with now. Don't get me wrong. I think they're phenomenal. I think they're incredible. I also think that their careers are blowing up because of their skill level. So I think that for me, like with doing the watercolor, and I was speaking to some folks, and combining the watercolors that I'm learning and getting the looseness versus my comic book stuff, which is very tight and controlled. I think that those two are going to probably meld together here. I would probably say by the end of this year, next year, and you're going to see a style shift again. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm in this transitional phase, which I'm glad I'm not doing any work at the moment, because I do sense that a leap is coming. And when I say a leap, it's like that Princess Mononoke piece. That was a leap, and then my artwork, was consistent. And now I see my artwork is going to make that transition. It's going to take another leap, because as I figure out and loosen up with the watercolor, it's going to show my lines and so on and so forth. But the biggest thing is to just stay authentic within my own work.
Yeah, and we're definitely interested to see what the leap is going to be and where it's going to go from here, because every evolution just adds another layer to wow. I mean,
it might not look like the stuff from the past, but it will keep going. And I think that that's not something to be mad with. I think that watching an artist evolve is good. And I think that maybe that's a good thing that I haven't worked for, like, say, the big two, is that my style hasn't been established too much, so that when it does change, people aren't like, I don't like this. So I can take those steps in the journey, and I can keep going and not have people resistant to it.
And that does make total sense. And that is another thing that I did notice in reading up on you, is that you have not worked for the big two at all. You're doing all indie work on all this, which is great. Any aspirations to get in the big two, or you just want to stay within the indies?
I think the big two would be fun. I think that it would be. I've been scouted several times, and which is not a bad thing, because I have had them knock on my door and then, turn around and slam it, which is the way it goes. But I think that the problem that I have is that sometimes the idea of you actually being a legitimate working artist isn't real until you have worked for the big two. And I don't find that as a true statement.
No.
I think that the indies or small publishers, if indie seems like a sneaky name, is not a bad thing. I think that the indies have more wiggle room to tell bigger stories, to tell different stories, to experiment with different genres. Because you have, classic superhero looks. You have, slice of life. You have stories like Saga. I love that book. It is all over the dang place. I mean, you've got people with television heads. It's amazing. And then you have other books like Monstrous, which visually, holy boop, it's amazing. Because it's beautiful inside and out. And the story is intriguing. And so, like, I think with the indies and with the small publishers, which are not technically small, I mean, they're all over the place. They're in comic shops throughout. I mean, I don't understand what the word small means, other than it's not Marvel or DC.
Right.
And I think that you don't need to be attached to both of those to be considered like it.
Right.
Now, it doesn't hurt. And I think that having a career in either of those two is also not a bad thing either. I just think that it should not be the only thing. I think that an artist's body of work should be more of what tells you what goes on. And I also think that, artists in general need to get more love.
Oh, I completely agree. Yes, yeah. I completely agree. That's one thing that from my side over here, because of course I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I can't draw a stick figure straight. It's just not going to happen. But from my side, being a fan and being able to look behind the curtain at the level that I am now, you can see a lot more of what goes into it. Because before it was just, I would go to my LCS, I would look and see what, looked good to me, whatever. And if it was a decent price, I got it, whatever, it's fine. Now it's like, I start breaking things apart. I want to see where the pencil lines are. I want to see if there's any blue lines on there. I want to see if they're actually, if they're bleeding outside of the panels, what's going on with it. There are different things that I'm looking for on there. It's almost like I'm editing the stuff that I'm looking at, but it also shows me some constructive criticism on the artist that I'm looking at as well. So that's a very big thing that I look for.
And it's fun to look at the meat and potatoes of everything.
Yes.
Like seeing all of that the sloppy stuff is fun. It's really fun to see where the beginning part to the finished product. And, I think that that's usually what I do is I end up following artists and falling in love with their artwork. And like I said, lately I've been falling in love with artists, and I'm finding out that they're animators, which animators are amazing in their own right. And apologies, she jumped in my lap. They tested the butt hurt alarm system. I wouldn't say it's butt hurt. I would say that it's mostly just like, there's more than those two. Now, granted, the movies are making people more interested, so we gravitate toward what we know. But like, I was handed Monstrous because someone was like, "You really need to read this book. It's beautiful." And I opened it up, and I was like, "Oh, it's amazing." Yeah. And I just started drooling, and I love it. And then Saga, I had heard some good reviews, and I started reading it and fell in love with that series. And I actually tend to love and follow French artists and their comics. I can't understand the thing that they're saying, but it's beautiful. So yeah, and stuff like Mobius, and it's yeah. So as long as it's a visual medium and it's beautiful, I'm going to enjoy it.
And that's the best way to look at it, is be open-minded in what you're going into. You don't have to specifically say, "Oh, it's Marvel, I don't want to look at it. It's DC, I don't want to look at it. It's whatever." You need to at least give it a chance and at least look through it and see if it actually has something that speaks to you or not. Because if it doesn't speak to you, then it's not for you at that point.
I think there's a difference when you are collecting the covers and stuff for art purposes, because there are folks who enjoy just that. For me, I want to read the story within as well. And there are stories within Marvel and DC that I do gravitate towards and I do love. I just also love the indies as well because I think they allow you to experiment and play. So,
Yes.
boil and mash them stew. I love it. I love it.
Now, for other new artists that are out there, what advice would you be giving them?
If they were new and trying to break in,
Yes.
don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like just study, study, study. So like if someone gives you that horrible critique of go back to studying anatomy or work on perspective and practice, those are tried and true. It's good advice. It's stuff that we hate to hear, but it's for realsies. And but I think that also like I said before, don't stop your growth process. And keep submitting. Find the companies you want to work for, find their submission process, and start submitting work. And if you feel you're ready to hit deadlines, go for it. But hit those deadlines.
Yes.
No one mistake.
Yeah, you get one shot at it. That's all.
I mean, if you're able to eat crow and say you're sorry, that's good. I've had to do that before several times where I've bit off more than I could chew. But I think that that's also something that we learn. And I totally feel like a Bond villain now. Yeah. She's even like a little white cat. She's my dog.
See, that's kind of like that should be my line because the bald head and everything. I should be like, yes.
Tell me more about your career.
Now we have you, Mr. Bond.
I love it. I love it. No, she's tired. She's like, oh.
Now you have several fans that are in here now. Several fans going to be watching this later on and everything. Mm-hmm. What would you like to say to your fans?
I miss you. I do. We really do miss you guys. We miss all of y'all. Like to give y'all a hug, to go to those after parties with our grown-up lightsabers because we're adults. I mean, we really miss hanging out with each and every single one of y'all. And we miss talking shop with you guys. We miss talking nerddom ideas of who would win what. Yeah. And Shane misses wearing his Batman mask and doing the basically it's Shane's impression of Bad Dad. Because he'll totally do it and be like, Jen, get back over here and start drawing your questions. Shut up.
We may have to get Bat Dad to do a cameo in here at some point then.
I can hear him right now. He's screaming on Call of Duty.
Oh, so it's not work related. I got you.
No, he would not use that voice. That's not very HR. No, he's like, oh, they're over there. They're blah 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 blah. The drop site. I don't know. I don't play. Although we have taught our children how to play Gauntlet. That's fun.
Nice.
Shane and I used to play that arcade game at the local bowling alley because Shane and I met in high school, and we'd save up our quarters and we'd go to the bowling alley and spend hours playing Gauntlet. And now we've downloaded it on our PlayStation, and now our little ones play it. And my youngest, who is 6 and a pretty princess, is the warrior.
All right.
I wish that we could give her more options to dress him because he would be fabulous. He would be a rainbow princess unicorn queen. If my 6-year-old had anything to do with it, it would be amazing. So, yes. Gauntlet. Let's do some upgrades.
Yes, definitely.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff. So if you guys are on PlayStation, we happen to be playing Gauntlet, it'd be funny.
Honestly, I haven't had a game system, and I can't tell you how long. But I was a manager for GameStop for 5.5 years or so, something like that. So I kind of got burnt out because I had everything.
That makes sense. I played video games when I was a kid. So like Super Mario was my jam. Like I had the Super Nintendo, I had the Star Fox. I did all of that. And then I just stopped. Like once they started adding more buttons, I was like, it's complicated. And like Gauntlet and Little Big Planet are about my speed. all the other stuff, and especially first person, I'm motion sick, so I'm all like, Shane made the mistake of giving me the remote once. And he's like, "Hey, you guys, I have to go to the bathroom. I always get the controller." And they're like, she got stuck in a tree. And the person pointing out, going, "I can't figure out where to go." So yeah.
Too much fun with that. Now I know you haven't finished the sketch,
No, it's
the
drying right
drawing on
now.
there. How much time do you think you have left on that? Do you think?
I'm gonna have a pretty good amount of time. So I got
Okay.
her up. It's drying right now. Like there's a couple pieces that are still a little overly saturated, but I'm gonna go in here now and start with watercolor pencil
Okay.
and start working on that after I do, like I guess people would consider these the flats.
Right.
So I've got her basic skin tone, her hair, and then we'll start adding some other colors, but I want to flesh out the skin tone a little bit more. That always seems to be my process with coloring is I want the skin tone spot on first.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah. It looks great.
thank you. And if you guys are interested in my stuff, go on to Instagram or Facebook. I'm on my Facebook art page, Art of Jen Broomall, definitely, because my personal page, I don't accept friend requests from people I don't know just because my kids are on there.
Mm-hmm.
And but my art page has all my art stuff, and you'll see all my posts of the mermaids right now, and they're tiny.
Yeah, the mermaids are actually very cool. Yeah, they are. They're tiny, but there's 22 of them that have been released so far, and like I said, they're all different styles, different colors, different. I mean, everything. There's no two alike at all.
No, and that's been the fun part with mermaid, and I'm contemplating. And what I'll do is I'll change my camera again, and I'll go through these little guys, and you guys can look at them so far because I have more than 22. It's just 22 is what's
Okay.
posted. But I might participate in another challenge next month called Junicorn.
Okay.
Bunch of unicorns. So we'll see.
Yeah, those are really great.
They're so much fun. And again, I use this to practice trying to make as much of a statement with minimal amounts of line work and using color more.
See, and sadly enough, you're showing me the unicorns. You're showing me the mermaids, and only thing that's going through my head is the xenomorphs on how they would
Yeah.
look, whenever you're doing that.
Next year, mermaids. That'd be great. I'm like, look at you guys, look at it, it's so cute.
You laugh, it'll be a #1 seller next year.
Xenomermaid. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so done. Although I did kick myself. I was like, God, I think next year I might just draw Derek Zoolander as a merman. And then I just have to draw the same face with different tails over and over and over again to show my versatility.
Oh yeah. That would work.
Every day it's the same thing. Merman.
Yeah, those are really cool. I like those.
You. So yeah, this is how I've been able to figure out watercolors quickly, plus different poses.
Well, it's different poses. Like you just had one, like 2 or 3 back that was doing the splashing water on there, and that's different than some of the other ones that are on there.
And this one I still have to add some more too. I was working on her last night. And then this is how they all start. They start as like little sketches. And I cut all these down. But yeah, so I have a few left. And that's #mermaid. And then of course Sailor Moon redraw that's going around. So I decided to jump on the bandwagon for this, but we'll finish this piece. It'll probably take me a couple of days just because I go slow with the watercolors. I don't pursue them quickly because I'm still understanding this medium.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
So I'm going to, work on it a little bit more. Like I said, I'll probably go in there with some watercolor pencils and see if I can flesh out the skin tones and make sure that's good, and then keep going.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And if you will, please tag me and let me know, whenever it's done, when you put the picture up, so that way I can take a look at it and I can go ahead and share it out as well and show that you had started it on the show and everybody else can enjoy it.
Definitely, definitely, I will.
Jen, we have had an absolute blast having you on here this evening. I look forward to having you on as a guest again in the future whenever you're ready to come back on if you want to.
Definitely, be fun.
If you'll go ahead and give us last audible shout out on where we can find you, and I'll have those links also on here as well so you can get to her pretty quick.
Sure. You can always find me on www.jenbroomall.com. That is a good hub site, and you can find all my other stuff on there as well. If you want to go on Instagram, it's Jen Broomall. Not very many Broomalls, so it's Broomall. And then Facebook, I have an art page, Art of Jen Broomall. I don't have an e-commerce store, but if you are interested in purchasing some originals from me, or if you have any questions, let me know, PM me, and I'll get back to you on that.
And it looks like Russell definitely wants to get with you because I know he had mentioned earlier about that Vampirella too, so he'll be reaching out.
Yes, definitely. Just reach out to me, and if I happen to go silent in the middle of a conversation, just understand I'm also got the mom hat on at the same time. So usually I'm interrupted by I'm hungry. Or a puppy. A puppy. Puppies do it too. Shit, look at her. Look at this dog. Shane gave her a mohawk. This poor, and it's even on her head, so she's like a multi-corn. Look at that. This is us, y'all. We ain't faking it.
Just too cute.
He held her down and did this to her.
Jen, thank you very much, and I look forward to having you on again. And everyone else, definitely reach out to her, try to find their stuff, and start following her, and see what's going on over that way. There are a few more mermaids coming out, then we go into unicorns, and before you know it, it's going to be some xenomorphs coming out.
Some sort of xenomorph or xenomorphicorn or something.
Ooh.
Xenomorphicorns.
Oh, there we go. You need to hashtag that one pretty quick.
Just beautiful, majestic, terrifying things.
All right. Thank you very much, and you have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Had Jen Broomall on here. We had a blast with having her up here. We laughed a lot more than I thought I was going to. My stomach is actually hurting a little bit. No, it was not that kind of alcohol that was in my cup. So, you were wrong on all accounts. So keep guessing. But no, it was fun. We had a blast with this. I always have a closing statement, and tonight's going to be no different than that. As you always know, I never script anything ahead of time, and I never write anything down while I'm going along. So tonight is all about never go ahead and present yourself as who you are not. Jen really represents this whenever she goes out and goes to the cons and does whatever, she is herself 24/7. That's who she is, and that's what you get. So why don't we go ahead and act the same way? There's a lot of things that are happening out the doors that we cannot control right now. There's a lot of people that are upset. There's a lot of people that are scared and, trying to figure out what's going on. Does that mean that you actually need to change? Not necessarily. Adapt to your circumstances, yes, but change who you are, no. So don't change who you are. Be who you are, be genuine, and make the world a little bit better for yourself and those around you. And hey, maybe one person putting a ripple into the water, you never know. Maybe it'll hit the bank before you know it, and we'll hit some other people on that, and everyone else will change. Sometimes it takes one pebble to start it. So that's how I'm going to close this out. Demon Phil, Comics in War, New Jersey. Keep it indie, y'all.